my limited podcast series on the 12 signs of the Zodiac. Today, we will be talking about Libra, but we will also be talking about the axis as a whole so that we can understand the energy is rooted within itself, understanding everything from the sense of polarity as well as a spectrum of frequency and balance which goes great with Libra because Libra, it rules literally balance itself, and the symbol is the scales. But just a little bit of informational background about me and why we're looking at things through this lens of the entire axis and polarity for the best possible understanding. I do have a background and a little bit of sciencey stuff. I have a career in test and measurement engineering, which is helping engineers be able to quite literally take measurements to be able to do various functions and jobs and all of that. And so that is what caused me to start applying things like the laws of physics, quantum physics, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, principles and theories to astrology and intangible energy. And as far as astrology goes, I am also considered second generation with that. I grew up with my mom being a professional astrologer, learned everything I know really from her until I started to, spread my own wings and just start to connect dots and a lot of pattern recognition in my own mind. And she's also a sound healer, which is of course based in frequency and quantum physics as well. So the apple really just doesn't fall far from the tree when it comes to all of that. And I like to help people learn astrology and teach astrology through a little bit of a scientific lens to just help people really be able to break it down into a way that is more digestible, easier to understand. I know there's a lot of feelings out there that astrology is just such a large system of knowledge that it can be really, really difficult to learn. It can feel really daunting. Like you could feel like you don't know where to start. So I always say you start with the traditional zodiac wheel, which is the 12 signs of the zodiac. But instead of, and here's my cat, Noodle, and she appeared in the Aries episode, and she is an Aries, so it's great that she's appearing for the Aries Libra axis and talking about Libra. Anyway, so essentially there are these building blocks to learn the 12 signs of the zodiac, and that you don't have to learn astrology as one sign at a time, because knowing that it's 12 different things and all of these different things that is represented within all of those 12 different things is what can make it feel overwhelming. So learning it by axis is how to break it down into an easier, more digestible, bite-sized way of learning, but also you'll see as I talk about the axis as a whole that all of these things are related, rooted within each other, and each end of the axis and the energy sends you to the other end of the axis and the energy and all of the rulerships. And those rulerships are going to be what we go over as the building blocks, which are the first is the sign of the zodiac that in which we were talking about Libra. Then it'll be the house, the planetary rulership, the element, the mode, and then also the symbol. And you build things in that order. You stack them on themselves so that you can then really understand and learn this sign of the zodiac, but all 12 together. So let's dive into it. So we're talking about Libra today, which is the 7th house. So when you start on the other end of the axis with Aries, you travel to the other end of the axis within Libra. So Libra is the 7th house, which is known as the house of relationships. I call it the house of mirrors. So this is the energy of how we interact with other people that exist outside of us in our own reality. However, those interactions that we have with other people also help teach us more about ourselves. So if you go back to the Aries episode and what we learned through Aries, we also see that Aries is the house of identity and our own personality. So whenever we are in relationships, we are able to have a mirror held up and we're able to see ourselves more clearly. We're able to understand ourselves more clearly. So relationships don't have to be romantic, but Libra is ruled by Venus. So it is seen as a sign and a house of romance. Yes, the 7th house is the house of marriage. It is the house of partnerships. However, it's also the house of contractual agreements, things that require like negotiation, contracts, which marriage is obviously a contract that you sign with a third party that gets you married, and like with the government's the other party, everything like that. So the seventh house is also the house of law with that because of contracts. So you're seeing all of these different aspects that exist within the seventh house. You start with the seventh house and understanding everything that rules. And then after you look at the house and everything that's contained in that house rulership of that sign of the zodiac, so Libra, the next thing that you are going to stack on top of it is the planetary rulership. And when it comes to this first axis of the Aries Libra axis, the planetary rulerships of this axis also immediately distinguish what I call the polarity of the axis. So the polarity, you can think of that as like the plus and the minus on a battery. So every single axis that you have throughout the zodiac wheel all contains this. Every single one of them. Every single one has a projective side and a receptive side of the axis. So the plus and the minus on the battery. The plus is the projective side, and then the minus is the receptive side. So when it comes to like astrology, clinical, mainstream, like however you want to refer to like learning traditional astrology knowledge, there's been a lot of gender assignments that have been put into teaching people astrology. And I'm going to challenge those gender assignments by actually completely removing them. Because when it comes to viewing astrology, and you can really see it when you start this first axis of Aries and Libra, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and then Libra is ruled by Venus. So then we get that phrase, that really famous phrase of men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and the differences between the two, right? Also, people know this as Mars representing divine masculine and Venus representing divine feminine. Now, you can keep all of those, that knowledge that you do have about all of that, but what I'm going to do is take out those gender assignments and turn this is where the electrical engineering comes in and the mechanical engineering comes in. I'm going to turn it directional through polarity. So what is projective energy and what is receptive energy? Projective energy is energy that is moving out and away from you. And then receptive energy is energy that is moving back and towards you. And then this is also where you can start to look at how the laws of physics are also applied into this energy, and the way that the zodiac is really just a system of knowledge that you learn through the lens of frequency, which frequency is the definition of labeling and assignments of energy. But then we are living in a physical world, okay? And we are living in a physical system, in a physical body. So that's really important to understand, that we are really learning how to navigate within this physical world that we are living in. And we are adhering to the laws of physics, even when it comes to intangible energy. And intangible energy 100% applies to astrology. Like, this is all very metaphysical, conceptual. It's not necessarily things that you can see or touch or taste or anything with your physical senses. But 97% of this entire universe is actually made up of dark matter. And what is dark matter? Dark matter is defined as matter that we cannot physically see. And only 3% of this entire universe is made up of matter and energy that we can physically see with our eyes. So then you can also graduate to your level of understanding with things that really do govern our life that are intangible energy, such as your Wi-Fi or your GPS signal, your microwaves, like things like that. So if we understand that we are constantly working with frequency through Wi-Fi and it rules our entire life, it is absolutely not a mental leap to then understand the frequency of intangible energy when it comes to us, our own personal energy, our human energy, as well as the greater, larger energy of this entire reality being largely intangible. So, your human system is also made up of electrical systems as well. And as we know, electrical systems, like your Wi-Fi, they are operating on frequency, and you can measure these things. Your electrical systems and your human system are, of course, your brain, but also your heart. And so you can go to a doctor and they measure the frequency of these systems. You can get an EEG on your brain that measures all of your brain waves. And you can also get an EKG on your heart. And we have various forms of science like, neurology, but also with your heart. There's a new field called neurocardiology, in which these discoveries even took place as recent as last year in 2025, where your heart has over 90,000 of its own neurons. So your heart is like its own little brain. And they've also discovered that your heart is actually functioning way independently, like over 90% independently from your brain. We used to think that the brain was governing absolutely everything, including the heart, and it's really not. These are like two separate brains. And also your emotional frequencies are going up from the heart to the brain to have those emotions become in your human experience via frequency. So when we understand life itself and the human system through frequency, we also know that we are projecting out frequency away from ourselves through our thoughts, our emotions, our intentions, our actions. All of these things hold their own frequency. So then, the law of physics. We learned this a long time ago. Maybe it was in high school, maybe it was even earlier than that. But the law of physics, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This is a physical thing that we are all living in and experiencing. So when we project frequency out and away from us, that exact same frequency comes back to us. And that is really how we are even experiencing and generating our own reality. And it comes from us, and it comes from, this, like our own consciousness, as well as our soul and everything like that. So what we're really doing is we're tying that type of knowledge also to the system of knowledge of astrology, and using astrology, kind of as a cheat sheet, as a code, to understand the energy of the human experience and our greater world within it, and how we can navigate that to become more fulfilled. So going back to understanding Libra and understanding through the lens of frequency, but of intangible energy, but also in a physical way, applying the laws of physics to it and understanding it as an axis with polarity, helps you really understand how to interact with and navigate it, and also use it to enhance and increase everything in your own life. So back to Mars versus Venus and projective versus receptive. That is the polarity that we are existing in this axis. Okay. So Venus as a ruling planet, Venus rules the energy behind how we receive. So when we are taking like the gendered stereotypes out of it, absolutely everybody has Venus energy in them. So when people hear words like divine masculine and divine feminine, and they're making gender assignments, and they're like, well, I don't identify as a man, or I don't identify as a woman, and we take that out of it and turn it mechanical and directional, Venus is the energy of what is flowing towards us and into us at all times. So therefore, it is very, very, very important, because if we have blockages in our Venus energy, that means that we have blockages in the way in which we receive, and also the way in which we receive is how we fill our own cup. Okay, so this is deeply tied to our own fulfillment as well. And Venus as an energy, when we look at what we're going to receive, it's also tied to our abundance. And abundance, really important down here in the material realm, in the human realm, because down here we decided to invent capitalism, and now we're also living in late stage capitalism. And so money has become the physical assignment of abundance energy in our our life and in our experience. And we are all just trying to earn money, to earn a living in order to exist down here. And I could get on a whole soapbox about that probably in another episode, but that is why our understanding of Libra energy is so important. Because this house of mirrors, the seventh house of mirrors, is ultimately not just our interactions with other people and our relationships and everything like that. This is also the house of balance. Libra is the scales as the symbol, right? So the house of balance, the house of harmony. You can see that when we are not in balance, when we are not feeling harmonious with ourselves or with others, that is going to affect how we are able to receive, which is our Venus energy of the ruling planet for Libra and the seventh house. So when any of those things are out of whack, when we are surrounded by people that don't see us clearly, or we are changing parts about ourselves, that's also contained in Libra energy, the people pleasing. It's the archetype of the peacemaker. When we mask and we are not who we truly are, then our Venus energy goes into detriment and we're not able to receive what we need to receive. And then it's also tied to our self-love and our self-acceptance and our self-compassion. And then everything just goes out of whack and we are just not happy. We become not happy. We become unfulfilled, and we can barely even navigate within this reality. So this is a really, really, really important part of the zodiac for us to be able to understand what this energy is and how it works. So back to our building blocks. We started with just the sign of the zodiac first, right? Just Libra. And then the building block on top of that is, what house is it? It's the seventh house of relationships, mirrors, and interacting with others who come along to show us who we are. And then we added the planet on top of it, which is Venus, which is the energy of how we receive and what we receive in order to be fulfilled, which is again tied to our self-love and self-acceptance and self-compassion and all of those things. And we tied it onto the other end of the axis within Aries, which is ruled by Mars, which is projective, versus Libra, which is receptive. So Aries on the other end of the axis is the energy moving out and away from you, and then the laws of physics automatically enact, and then we have the energy on the other end of the axis coming back towards us. Okay? So, what do you look at after the planetary rulership? Then it becomes the mode. What is the mode? So the mode, there are 3 different kinds of modes, and it is cardinal, fixed, and then mutable. So then this is where, oh no, how do I learn all of that again? Because if there's only 3 modes, but there's 12 signs of the zodiac, well, then the anxiety gets provoked. How do we remember this? Because there's going to be 4 different signs of the zodiac are all the same mode. And how do I remember that? Again, this is why you learn by the axis instead of just everything by itself. So every axis is the same mode the entire way through. And you will see this with all of the axes that we go over. But right now we're on the Aries and Libra axis. So because Aries, as the first sign of the zodiac, is automatically a cardinal sign, and cardinal signs are always the beginning of every season. So Aries is always on the spring equinox. On the other end of the axis, Libra is also automatically a cardinal sign every single time. So the start of Libra season always takes place on the fall equinox, okay? So you will also see this for the summer and winter solstice on that Cancer Capricorn axis. Those are the other cardinal signs. So when you're looking at the way in which the energy operates, it is contained in the mode, okay? So this is the way that energy moves in a mechanical sense. So for cardinal signs, cardinal energy, because it's the start of every season, it's easy to remember it as starter energy. So both Aries and Libra as far as their traits are concerned, as far as the energy, the way that it manifests itself, they're very good at starting new things, starting new projects, and also wanting to like do things. But then because Aries is a different element, you're going to stack your element on top of the mode, and it is going to change how the energy is moving and operating. So Libra is an air sign, but it's also receptive. And as we learn other signs of the zodiac, other axes, you're also going to run into projective air signs. But our projection energy was on the other end of the axis within Aries. So within the polarity, we're automatically in receptive energy here with Libra. So it is receptive air energy. So what does that mean? Well, air as an element is always intellectual. It always lives up here in the mind, in the brain. It's like on the top half of the body. And it's always going to be energies that like they like to learn. They really, really like to learn new things. They're probably constantly going to be learning really the entire time, liking to read, things like that. But it's very intellectual. But with Libra, it is tied to decision making. Because remember, when we looked at the house, this is the house of partnerships, but also contracts and law and negotiations and agreements that take place between multiple parties. So this is where the decision-making aspect of Libra really comes into play, living up in the mind, and that negotiations and making decisions take place within Libra energy. You can really find it within the element more than anything. You can't really find it, you're looking at Venus energy, it's like, is it really there? Maybe, like not really. You're trying to remember what Libra represents. So it's like for Libra in particular, learning the element is where you can remember that we get this, okay, this is my energy of where I make decisions. So it's also, air is very analytical. So this is where Libra energy can get into analysis paralysis, and that it can be difficult for Libra energy to be able to choose or make decisions sometimes, because as an energy, they're able to like see all this information in order to be able to make the best decision, to be able to make the most sound decision. So then, because they are also this energy of balance with this symbol of the scales, and it's also this sign that rules harmony and the house that rules harmony and everything like that, the analysis paralysis can really come into play, because they can just see, well, if we make this decision, it'll go this way. If we make that decision, it'll go that way. Actually, both of them are good choices and both of them are good decisions. And so now I don't know what to do. So now I don't know what decision to make and how to make it. And this is where really understanding the axis as a whole and how you can ground that energy when things go into detriment is really, really crucial. And you always ground it within the other end of the axis. So it's like we're being taken back. We're being taken back to Aries. We're being taken back to that Mars energy. We're being taken back to that projective energy. Because if we're trying to make a decision, that also means we're trying to make a move. We're trying to move forward in some way, right? So if we're struggling to make the decision, we go back into the Aries energy. And in order to be confident in our decision making, really we need to be confident in our own energy. We need to be confident in our own identity, our own self. We need to know who we are. We need to know what we want. We need to know what we want within who we are. That helps us make any kind of decision, right? So Aries, if we go back to that and we learned what Aries was, it's that house of identity. It's that house of that moment when your soul enters your body and gets encapsulated in your physical body and it represents your physical body. It's that energy of the first energy that anyone gets projected out and away from you. It's that energy of the ascendant on the birth chart. And it's that beginning of life, that spark of spring. It's that rooted energy of truth. Truth is found in the other end of the axis within Aries, okay? So because of that, as long as we're confident within all of that Aries energy, over here on the other end of the axis that we're discussing right now, it won't go into detriment. It won't become ungrounded, and we won't deal with the analysis paralysis that can come from Libra energy by ruling all these free will decisions, these choices, these negotiations, these compromises, all of this stuff that happens within relationships with other people. So we can be confident in our decisions when we're confident in ourselves, when we're rooted in our truth, when we're rooted in that Aries energy, when we're rooted in the other end of the axis, right? So a lot about balance here when it comes to understanding what Libra energy is and what it is. But go back to the building blocks, okay? So it's like when you're learning the 12 signs of the zodiac, we are doing building blocks. So start at the bottom, like just with the sign of the zodiac, it's Libra. Okay. What is Libra? Okay, well, it's the zodiac wheel. Okay, so what house are we in? Okay, this is the 7th house, but also I want to remember the whole axis. So it's automatically the 7th house from the 1st house. Got it. And then we stack the planetary rulership on top of it. Okay, so if I'm remembering my axis and I'm on the Aries Libra axis and I remember that Aries is ruled by Mars, then I can also remember that Libra is automatically ruled by Venus, or you can do it backwards. Okay, so I'm on my axis and I automatically remember that Libra is ruled by Venus. So that means that the other end of the axis is ruled by Mars. And then we also get our polarity from that, which is our direction. So understanding the direction of the energy. If we're on this end of the axis with Venus, Venus is receptive. Venus is automatically our receptive energy. So that's the minus on the battery. That means the other end of the axis is automatically the plus, and it's the projective energy. Then you stack your mode on top of it. It's cardinal. So if we are on the axis over here in Libra, and we know that it takes place on the fall equinox and it's the beginning of a new season, and every beginning of a new season is cardinal energy, we also know that on the other end of the axis within Aries, it's also cardinal energy, and vice versa. We're learning. So see, so it's like we're connecting all of this energy, and all of this energy is rooted within each other. And then after the mode, you add the element. So what is the element over here on this side of the axis? It is air. What is air? It's intellectual, it's analytical, it lives in the mind, it's logical, it's rational. So then, see, you go to the bottom, you take all of this, you're stacking, you go to the bottom, and you're like, okay, so Libra is analytical, Libra is intellectual, Libra is logical, they are rational. So that's how you can see how we're getting these other associations of making decisions, compromise, balance, harmony in relationships. You have to have that analytical aspect within relationships in order for the relationship to function properly. You have to be able to know what's going on in both sides of the energy in order to reach those compromises, in order to reach those negotiations, in order to have that person's cup being filled up and also your cup being filled up at the same time in order to achieve balance and harmony within the relationship, right? So then lastly, what we look at is we look at the symbol itself. If we cannot, it's like we're trying to learn these 12 signs of the zodiac, we're trying to learn astrology, just like we're working really, really hard and we're struggling to remember certain things despite all of these other building blocks and all of these ways to connect all of these dots with all the energy just for your memory, because maybe you slept, and sometimes sleeping makes us forget everything that we learned and read the day before, right? Okay, just go to the symbol. That's it. Just go to the symbol. What is the symbol for Libra? And you can even get this out of your emoji keyboard. So the emoji keyboard you can type in any sign of the zodiac and it'll come up like with what the symbols are that are associated with that sign of the zodiac. So for Libra, you get 2 emojis with Libra. You will get the actual just like regular emoji that is the diagram, of the scales. And you will also get an actual emoji of the scales, like those two, if they're silver, like those 2 scales that are with each other. It'll come up like in your emoji keyboard. So we've been talking about how Libra rules balance. and that you're putting things on these scales and things become unbalanced, but it's also a means of weighing things, right? And how do we say that when we make a decision? We say, I'm weighing my options. I'm coming up with a pros and cons list. I'm weighing my options. That's Libra. Right there. That phrase right there. I'm weighing my options in order to make a decision. And this is then where you get sent back to the element of air and the intellectualism and analysis paralysis. And I'm trying to be logical and I'm trying to be rational. We don't like to make emotional decisions, right? Everybody always gets told that. Don't make a decision based on your emotions. Make a decision, be rational, be logical. That's Libra. That's Libra energy. We are vocalizing that Libra energy when we talk to anybody about making decisions. We are vocalizing Libra energy in that exact moment. Be logical, be rational. Don't make an impulsive, hasty decision. And then that takes us back to Aries. When we said that takes us back to the other end of the axis, because everything, these axes, this energy, this spectrum of frequency for the whole zodiac is rooted axis by axis. So Aries is accused of being impulsive and making impulsive decisions, and that automatically comes from being attached energetically on the other end of this axis within Libra energy and making decisions. And like Libra is literally looking at Aries and saying, hey, be careful. Don't be so impulsive with that fire energy and that passion, and don't make these impulsive decisions that lead to these consequences in your life that you didn't think about at first. Because over here on the other end of the axis where I'm tied directly to you and my energy is the result of your energy, I'm watching you be impulsive and I'm like, don't do that. That's what Libra says. They said, we need balance. We need these scales to be even in order to weigh our options, in order to make the proper decision. But also this is tied to relationships. It's the 7th house of mirrors, the 7th house of relationships. And so every decision that we make, am I making the decision based on me, which is the Aries side, the Aries axis, that house of identity, your personality, the energy that everybody gets from you, your root, your spiritual, like that moment that you came into your body and became you and became the human experience. It's that house of just the individual, just you. So then here we are on the other end of the axis. That's where we're focused on. We're talking about Libra. Are you making a selfish decision that is based solely on you, or are you thinking of the other party? Are you thinking of the other relationship? Are you thinking of what's going on with them? When you make that decision, how is that going to affect them? So this is where the reception, the receptive energy of Libra really, really, really shows itself, because it's this level of observation that takes place in Libra energy, that they are constantly observing everyone else around them within this energy. They are constantly wondering how everybody else around them is feeling, how they're doing. Because again, this is the archetype of the peacemaker, right? This is negotiations, this is contracts, this is partnerships, this is relationships. What's best for the multiple parties together. We can't be selfish. We can't be selfish. We need to see and know what is going on. So that requires reception. That requires information that is constantly coming in. It's just coming into the system at all times. So we're building our building blocks, and we're seeing how these building blocks, when they stack on top of each other, they make up all of this energy, but we're ending at the symbol, and we're seeing how that symbol alone by itself evokes everything that this energy represents. And all it is a picture. All it is an image, but you put it in the mind, and there it is. And it's just, you don't have to work so hard. You don't have to work so hard to learn this, to learn astrology. It can become easy. So after we get our building blocks, this is when we can really look at you have to understand the duality of every single sign of the zodiac, right? And duality is really important because we live in a binary world. We live in a binary system. The brain is a binary system. The brain is left versus right. Even the earth itself, we've got a North Pole and a South Pole. So we really live like kind of in this binary reality that causes us as human beings to just have a lot of black and white thinking and either or thinking and good versus bad and positive versus negative. And that can become a detriment, and especially when it comes to learning astrology. And we have, pop astrology, you have your mainstream astrology and everything like that. You have your clinical astrology. And we have created stereotypes. We've created stereotypes around these energies, and, the magazines or the horoscopes or whatever it is that you come across, or other people, they're like, oh, these traits from this side, they're a weakness. They're automatically a weakness, and they automatically label it as good versus bad, right? So when it comes to really unlocking astrology the way that it needs to be unlocked, in order for us to take it on, because I always say all energy is a tool and all energy is a gift, no matter how it makes us feel. And we are meant to harness and use all energy, even if it makes us feel uncomfortable, or even if it upsets us, or even if we don't like it in some way, we can still use and harness that energy for our own growth and our own transformation, and learning our lessons and sharing our gifts and everything that comes along with being down here in the human realm, in this human experience, especially as a spiritual being, as a soul that is housed in this human body, and we're all just on our own journeys trying to figure it out. So with Libra in particular, we hear a lot of things like, not just the analysis paralysis, not just that they can't make any decisions, they can't decide what to do or anything like that. It's pick me. It's pick me. It's like we call Libra the pick me of the zodiac. Libra just wants to be liked. Libra just wants to be loved. And but as I said, as the archetype, they are the peacemaker, right? We've got these scales, we're making decisions. Are we thinking about the other and everything like that? And so calling them people pleasers and viewing that as, a form of manipulation, of like, they just want to be liked or anything like that. So then maybe you don't even know somebody with Libra energy, who they really are. You can't even tell, because they could possibly be changing who they are and aspects about their energy in order to receive that love in return, because here they are ruled by Venus, and Venus rules love, and it rules that how we receive and filling our cup and feeling fulfilled. And I think we can all say in the human experience, everybody just wants to be loved, and that is something that we are mostly all seeking in order to fill our cup. And then this is the house of relationships. So this is external energy. This is external energy, and Libra can be seeking external validation because of that. And then remember, with that element of air in the mind and that constant receptive energy, that energy is flowing towards them, and they're taking in energy from everyone and everyone around them. But their level of observation is up here, that they're always seeing how everybody else around them feels. Of course, they will naturally change themselves in order to help someone else around them feel good, because that's what their energy is designed to do. But we're labeling that as a weakness in the stereotypes. It's really it can also be seen as a strength, but perception is a choice. Perception is a choice based on given and perceived information. And whatever we view as a strength, we can find and seek other information, which is what I'm demonstrating right now, to flip that over. And suddenly what we see as a strength becomes a weakness, and suddenly what we see as a weakness becomes a strength. So people with heavy Libra placements, and let's define what a heavy placement is. We hear these terms in the astrology community. What is a heavy placement? I view heavy placements as interplanetary placements. So that's going to be Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and also your ascendant. It could be a heavy placement. So and that's like, I think I just said like 6 things, right? So that's a lot out of everything that you can have of all of the planets and all of the placements on your chart. Heavy Libra placements can get into this energy of people pleasing and peacemaking and changing their energy based on others around them, so that not just that the other person is happy, but that they receive the love that they are looking for as a human being, simply by living in the energy that I have been laying out mechanically is going on, and all these rulerships between not just the sign, but the house, the planet, the element, the mode, all of it. You're stacking all the symbol, all of these things. Libra just wants to be loved. Libra just wants to be loved. But then we've got to go back to remembering what we talked about earlier, of understanding that here we are in this physical vessel, in this physical system, which again takes you back to the other end of the axis, because Aries literally rules your physical body and your physical appearance. When we are projecting the frequency out and away from us, and that frequency automatically comes back, because this is the laws of physics and we're living in a physical reality, and it doesn't matter that the energy is intangible. Doesn't matter that we can't see it. We have scientifically discussed that we can't see most of what is going on here. The universe, the reality, the cosmos, whatever you want to call it, responds by sending that exact frequency out back to us, right? So if we are living in our Libra energy, and whether you have Libra placements or not, the 12 signs of the Zodiac wheel is just the labeling system of knowledge and definition for literally the human experience and this entire reality and all of the energy in it and everything that we are interacting with. So even if you do not have Libra placements, you still have Libra energy, because you still have relationships with other people, and also you still have your energy, your Venus energy, that way in which you receive, and you just want to be loved, and you are seeking love, and we will all still seek that external validation from others. So we are all interacting with Libra energy. Gosh, it really rules a lot of what we do, right? So when any of us are not grounded in the other end of the axis, within Aries, within our identity, with confidence of, I know who I am, what I am, I love myself, I am confident in that, well, our Libra energy becomes ungrounded and it becomes dissonant, and then we end up changing ourselves, and we end up masking, and we end up becoming a bit of a chameleon, and we change our energy around whoever we are with in order to be accepted, in order to get that friend, in order to get that partner, in order to get that job. Think about when you're in an interview and you just want the job so bad. Maybe this is like your absolute dream job, right? But we are frequency matching with our entire reality. We are generating our entire reality through our personal frequency. So if we get asked certain questions by that interviewer, and then we do not speak in our truth from our identity, we change the answer based on what we think that interviewer wants to hear in order to get the job, that is messing with the Libra energy, because this is a relationship. And in order to get the job, this relationship hasn't formed yet. So this is Libra energy, and here we are. So we change what we would really want to say or do for that job interview question, and we project out a frequency that is not ours. It's not rooted in the other end of the axis. It's not rooted in our identity. It's not rooted in our Aries energy. We have changed it. We have messed with it in the name of pleasing the other person that sits in front of us, that is making a decision. Libra rules making decisions. It rules contracts. Getting a job is a contract. So you just want to sign that contract so bad. And then, hey, it worked. You got the job. Congratulations. we think. It works out for a little while until we get comfortable, until we go back into the frequency of our real self and our real identity, which is on the other end of the axis in Aries. And now all of a sudden that job is dissonant as heck. And oh my gosh, I really liked this job when I first got it. I really liked my coworkers. I really liked what I was doing. I really liked my boss. I really liked the company. Because it resonated when you projected out that frequency that didn't belong to you and wasn't yours, that you changed in order to be accepted, and you frequency match with your reality, and bam, now you settled in. It's been however long it's been, a month, 2, 3, 6, I don't know. Everybody's different. You're going to spend time still masking in that job. You're going to spend time still changing your frequency because it's the beginning. You're in training. You want to be accepted by your coworkers. You want to be accepted by your boss. You want to impress these people. So there you are. You're still in that Libra energy of developing these relationships, and you're changing your frequency, and it is resonating, and it's working, and it's wonderful. And you feel so great, and you feel so accomplished, and you're getting all of this external validation from this job that you got, and this company that you like, and these coworkers, and this boss, and everything else. And then after you receive that external validation enough that you finally filled your cup and you feel comfortable, you snap back into yourself. And then all of a sudden things start happening, and it's dissonant, and it's challenging, and you also are losing your sense of motivation. And when you lose your sense of motivation, guess what? That also exists in the other end of the axis within Aries, because remember, Aries is our inner flame. Aries is the spark of life. Aries is the fire sign on the other end of the axis, and it's our passion, and it's also our purpose and what we want to do. So now when the reality has become dissonant in this new job and these relationships that we have cultivated by changing our frequency, and then our frequency snaps back and we exist in the truth on the other end of the axis within Aries, our cup suddenly drains and it becomes empty, and there's holes, and it's a sieve. Oh, now we're experiencing burnout. The job is so hard. Not only have you lost motivation, the job is so hard you can't get up in the morning anymore, and you don't want to go, and you can't stand anyone, and you can't stand your coworkers. Oh no. I'm either going to get fired or I'm going to have to quit. And all of this happened just because back in the interview, we changed our frequency to be accepted. We changed our answers. So this is why understanding the axis as a whole also takes you into really navigating life and navigating the human experience, navigating this entire reality and everything in it and everything that we interact with. When we understand astrology and we understand the axis of energy that we are working with as we are learning the zodiac wheel, this is how we get into, I call the human experience a video game on expert level hard mode. And I like to use Mario Kart as the example, but also I was not allowed to play like video games growing up, and I don't like own them now. And TBH, I can barely use a controller. So Mario Kart's just like driving, and it's like easier than like pressing all these crazy buttons, right? So there's a menu inside of Mario Kart, and it's like, easy, moderate, expert, and then like extra hard or whatever it says, right? And you might even go to that super hard mode, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like I cannot do this. I'm falling. There's no guardrails anymore on that Rainbow Road one, and you're falling off a Rainbow Road, and there's a million turtle shells flying at you, and they're coming way too fast. And you can't even see them. And you're like, I cannot do this. And I want to go back to easy mode. I want to go back to easy mode. Okay, well, guess what? We cannot do that in the human experience. We absolutely cannot change the setting. This is a video game on expert level hard mode, and there's nothing that we can do about it. It is inherently challenging. Every single one of us is going to be on the struggle bus for an extended period of time all throughout life, if not the whole time. And so astrology and learning these things by the axis is also how you can enter flow state when it comes to life. And even though life is inherently going to be filled with challenges and lessons, and it is going to be hard and trauma and all of these things, when we understand life through this lens of frequency, these frequency spectrums through astrology and the system of knowledge of astrology, and by axis in particular, and when we understand what is wrong on one side of the axis, we can correct it automatically in the other side of the axis and vice versa, right? So just using this example of, we all go through this, we want the dream job, we want the dream career, and we change our answers in an interview in order to get that job. Astrology says don't do it. Science says don't do it, because your frequency, you need to be rooted in that truth, in that Aries truth on the other end of the axis, in order to manifest on the Libra side of the axis, to manifest these things, these relationships that they drive and they rule our entire life. We're always around someone else. We're always working with other people. And then when we turn this into love and we turn this into the relationship, think about dating. Oh boy. Think about dating. We're on the dating apps, we're swiping, we find somebody we like, we connect, we go and we want to go on the date. You get all dressed up, and then you might change how you act in front of this person that you have a crush on, and you really like them, and you just really want to go on a second date. You really, really like them. So there we are in that Libra energy, ruled by Venus and ruling relationships, ruling marriage, ruling partnerships. Gosh, this society is so driven around wanting to get married, isn't it? So here we are navigating dating, and we change, we mask, we don't really let our genuine, authentic self come out date one, right? It's hard. It's really hard to be able to be that confident and genuine and authentic that on date one, you don't mask at all and you don't change anything about yourself. Well, then, because you changed your frequency and you changed something about yourself, that person did ask you on a second date and a third date and a fourth date, and then they ask you to be exclusive, and things seem like it's going so great and you really, really like this person. And who knows how long this lasts, but it could be years. And then you settle in and you become yourself at some point in time. And that person also becomes themselves at some point in time. We go to the other end of the axis and we live in the truth of our Aries energy and our identity and who and what we are and how we feel about that. And all of a sudden, the relationship doesn't work. It's so weird. It's like, oh my gosh, like we were working so well, and now all of a sudden it's just all these little things are just like falling apart, and we can't communicate, and we're like two ships passing in the night, and we're not understanding each other. And what it really is that the frequency has become unmatched, and the frequency has become dissonant. So what does dissonance mean? Let's define dissonance. And I like to define dissonance through music. And like I have a background in music, and okay, so like say you have a piano in front of you and like you don't know how to play it and you're just screwing around and you like play some keys together and you're like, uh-oh, ow, oops, sorry if anyone heard that. I'm learning still and it sounded bad. It like clashed. The music, the notes clashed. That is dissonance. And then you learn how to play the piano, and you learn how to play like keys. It's like you're stacking 3 notes, maybe 4 on top of each other, and all of a sudden it becomes harmony. It's harmonious, and it's like a choir singing, and it sounds really, really good. That's resonance, okay? And in the human experience is inherently dissonant, but we're also seeking resonance like within that dissonance, and humans don't like dissonance. We kind of want to cut it out. We want to eliminate it, and we only want to seek resonance because dissonance feels uncomfortable, right? So when we are not frequency matched in the relationship anymore, boop, these 2 notes, if I'm a note and you're a note, and all of a sudden we're not matching frequency, we are clashing and we're dissonant and we don't sound good together. Then the relationship falls apart and you go through the breakup. And I've been through this, and probably everybody alive has been through a breakup that you don't even know who you are anymore without that person, and it's like an existential crisis, and it's a literal identity crisis, and you have to relearn yourself and relearn who you are. Because again, here we are in Libra energy, and it is rooted in the other end of the axis within Aries. Okay? So I could go on and on and on about all this stuff, but I think we covered a really good aspects of everything, and the building blocks, and how you remember everything, and how this is tied to our human experience and becoming more fulfilled, living in flow state, manifesting the things that we want to manifest, especially talking about Libra because it's tied to everything that we do in which we interact with other people besides ourselves, which is literally our entire life. So I think that's about it. And that's all I've really got for you guys. And thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. You got to find me on all of my different platforms. Obviously here, like, subscribe, all of those things. You subscribe, when I have a new episode come out of my podcast series. This one in particular, like I said, is a limited series of the 12 signs of the Zodiac, but I do have plans for more, and I will be doing more things in the podcast world. But also I am Brie Rhiannon on absolutely all social media platforms. So just the way that you found me here and the way that you see BrieRhiannon, Brie like the cheese, Rhiannon like the Fleetwood Mac song. You can also find my website, BrieRhiannon.com. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, I do offer one-on-one sessions, whether that's astrology or other things. We can do all kinds of stuff. Whether you want to learn from me, whether you want readings, birth chart readings, I do identify as a psychic medium and oracle as well. And then also I would like to say I am most active on Facebook in particular. That is the best place to connect with me. And I also have a Facebook group. My Facebook group is called Lunar Revolution, which is also the name of the book that I am writing, which is about all of my science-based methods of manifesting with the moon, but including astrology. So in that book, there will be all this stuff with the 12 signs of the Zodiac and whatnot in there as well. But yeah, so I think we covered most of it. And hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys to learn astrology, learn the 12 sides of the Zodiac, make it a little bit easier, make it a lot less to remember, because instead of learning, like I said, 12 things and all the things associated with all of those things, each and by themselves, you can learn it by axis and all the ways that these building blocks stack on top of each other in order to help you understand everything that you are learning when it comes to astrology. So I think that is just about it. Oh, I think in the beginning, I probably forgot to mention I am dressing for each sign of the Zodiac. I have a lot of hair, so I will show people my outfit here at the end. For Libra, which as we discussed, is relationships and love and ruled by Venus. And so here I am wearing pink, and I have a floral pink skirt on with it. And just fun little tidbit about me and my background, I actually did major in fashion merchandising. And I spent a while in my career as a stylist, styling other people and running a boutique and whatnot. And so I love clothes and I love fashion. And I thought it would be fun to dress up for each sign of the Zodiac. So keep an eye on all my outfits. I will talk about them in each episode, but I also need to remember to do that. Yeah. I think that's about it. I think we are about done. Again, thank you so much for being here. If you find me on socials and if we connect, thank you for connecting with me. And if you do choose to work with me one-on-one and have any kind of session or anything that we could do together, I thank you in advance for that. And I look forward to meeting you. And yeah, anyway, that's about it. And thank you guys so much for listening. And I will see you next time. Bye.